2016 independent presidential candidate and one-time Republican Evan McMullin, whose group Stand Up Republic is spending $500,000 on ads opposing Roy Moore, and former Breitbart spokesperson Kurt Bardella, longtime Republican, who just wrote an op-ed published today that Roy Moore is the last straw. You can now call me a Democrat. And Kurt, I'll start with you. Why?
You know, what's going on in Alabama right now is really the embodiment of everything wrong with the Republican Party, just how morally bankrupt they become. When it gets to a point where they would rather put in office a known child sex predator who preyed on teenagers at the local mall, who is an open racist, homophobic, sexist, they would rather put this guy in office than a crime-fighting prosecutor, Doug Jones, who happens to be a Democrat. The party has gone too far. The RNC is funneling money to him. Donald Trump is campaigning for him tonight at a rally. And Republicans are, by and large, silent on this.
I want to ask you, Kurt, you worked at Breitbart and then you resigned from Breitbart. And they've been a big supporter of Moore's. Steve Bannon has been a supporter of Moore. And there's a whole architecture that exists around this ideologically to sort of allow people to believe there's a vast conspiracy involving George Soros and the Washington Post to fabricate these accusers. It's preposterous on its face. Today they ran a headline about Beverly Young Nelson, who's the woman that you see there. Bombshell, Roy Moore accuser Beverly Nelson admits she forged yearbook. Now, that's entirely untrue. What she did say was that she put the date next to Roy Moore's signature. But how important is it having that kind of ideological mouthpiece doing that kind of work?
It's really become crucial, and as Steve Bannon declared, Breitbart is really the mouthpiece for the alt-right. And what happened over time was, for the first time, you had this congregating platform where all of the people who subscribe to these insane beliefs could congregate every day, feed off of one another, share their stories, comment. I mean, look at the comment pages of Breitbart. It's some pretty scary and extreme stuff.
Yeah, it's
but it allowed them to really harness around one another, amplify their voice, and Steve Bannon really tapped into that and turned that into a political action committee. Breitbart isn't a news network. It's a political action propaganda vehicle.
All right, so there's a really perverse dynamic that's emerged in the wake of these last few weeks with Al Franken and then with Trent Franks and with John Conyers, in which if you admit to what you're accused of, then you're going to face some consequences. But if you just flat out deny and call the women liars, as the President of the United States has done and as Roy Moore has done, Kurt, then maybe you can get away with it. This is an actual thing. New email. This is an email from a pro-Moore sewer PAC that says Al Franken has proven Roy Moore is innocent. These abusers don't stop. It's a way of life. That's why they all have been forced to admit their misdeeds due to verifiable recent evidence, as if Al Franken somehow shows that Roy Moore didn't do what he's accused of.
And therein lies, Chris, really one of the major issues I've personally had with the Republican Party, which is the complete destruction of truth and fact. And the idea that at the highest level of our entire government and our political institution, it's now standard operating procedure to lie, to attack those who have become victims of what you have perpetrated upon them, and to completely wash it over in the hopes that over time you can repeat it enough that it will just become fact, that you can make up your own reality and completely dismiss what your entire past and actions have without any consequences. And it's ironic that, as Al Franken said as he resigned, here he is, he's taking responsibility, he's accepting a consequence, while the President of the United States, who arguably has committed more sexual harassment than anybody who has resigned from their office so far, is the president thriving and refuses to accept or acknowledge reality.
All right, Evan McMullin and Kurt Bardella, thank you both for being with me tonight.